Winter Wrap-Up is the first episode in MLP that gives us a musical number involving a large cast of characters. We had a couple of short music pieces from Pinky before, but now we are shown some true talent from the composers on MLP. I was pleasantly surprised by this piece when I was first watching the show, and it continues to be a popular song within the Brony community even to this day. But if you took the song out of this episode and only focused on the story, would it really be all that memorable? Let's take a look. As the episode begins, we see Twilight waking up and acting like a child on Christmas morning. It's rare to see Twilight so giddy, as she is usually much more composed. However, Spike is less than thrilled about Winter Wrap-Up Day. He doesn't quite understand why ponies should need to clean up winter, as he is used to the seasons being changed by magic like they do in Canterlot. But Twilight tells Spike that Ponyville was founded by Earth ponies, and they've never used magic to clean up winter for hundreds of years. Which raises an interesting question, as we see in Family Appreciation Day that a young Granny Smith was there during the founding of Ponyville. So this either means that Granny Smith is hundreds of years old, or Twilight is just mistaken about when Ponyville was founded. Even for something so trivial as getting dressed for winter weather, Twilight is still using a checklist. Although having to check off the fact that Spike is refusing to get up tells us that Twilight really can plan ahead here. But then we see that it is still the middle of the night, so it seems that Twilight didn't quite plan for everything. In the next scene, we see that Twilight is no longer wearing her scarf or boots. Guess she didn't need those after all. We see that all the ponies have been split into different tasks, for managing the weather, for planting the seeds of the next season's harvest, and for taking care of the animals. Considering the fact that all the ponies were already split into teams, I guess Twilight had shown up a little late to the gathering? And then comes the Winter Wrap-Up song. Very upbeat, very fun, and incredibly catchy. It's easy to see just why this song has stood the test of time. I can see myself pulling up this piece of music many years from now and still enjoying it. But we still need to see how well this episode holds up if we put aside this catchy tune, so let's move on. Twilight is still not sure what she should be doing. Seeing as this is her first winter wrap-up in Ponyville, it's perfectly understandable that she wouldn't know her place. She first attempts to see if Rainbow Dash needs any help clearing the clouds, but considering that Twilight doesn't have any wings, it's easy to see why Rainbow thinks that she wouldn't be able to help. I don't know. We've already seen a few spells from Twilight in previous episodes that might be of help here and there, but then again, I guess that she's trying not to use her magic. So Twilight goes to see if Rarity might need any assistance. Rarity is making birds' nests, perfectly shaped and even wrapped in ribbons. Which seems a bit much, but we've seen previous examples of Rarity wanting to spread beauty even when she's supposed to be focused on something else. Twilight asks if she might be able to make a nest, and Rarity dumps out a basket filled with straw, twigs, and ribbons, which Twilight manages to separate and organize in only a couple of seconds off screen. Twilight's skills with organization are quite impressive. However, we can see only a few seconds later that Twilight's skills with creating a nest are less than remarkable. And once again we get a moment where Spike is showing his age by saying that Twilight's nest needs to be condemned. Rarity calmly suggests that she might be able to help fix the nest, and ends up pulling much of it apart. Twilight goes off to find Pinky, who is effortlessly skating across an icy pond. Pinky tells Twilight that she's been doing this since she was an itty-bitty little Twinkie Pinky. Pinky actually suggests that Twilight help her out, and Twilight seems interested. That is, until she actually steps out onto the ice and realizes that skating is much harder than it looks. Watching this actually reminded me of a very similar scene in Bambi, right down to them crashing into the nearby snowbank. Despite her failings, Twilight is still determined to do her part. So she goes off to find Fluttershy, who is gently awaking the hibernating animals from their long sleep. Between Rarity making nests, Rainbow directing her team to help the birds fly back north, and now Fluttershy waking up the hibernating animals, there seems to be quite a bit of emphasis on helping the local wildlife. I'm rather curious about whether all these animals would be able to manage on their own if they didn't have any help from the ponies. Twilight attempts to do her part here as well, but is actually afraid of snakes, bats, and bees, even to the point of running into a den of skunks. She ends up bathing in tomato juice, which is something I had completely forgotten about for this episode. Spike suggests that Twilight just try using her magic, and Twilight reminds him that winter wrap-up is supposed to be done without magic, as per tradition. So Twilight goes off to find Applejack and offers to do what she can. Applejack is immediately hesitant, as the work her team is doing is all physical labor. Twilight tries to push the plow with all her might, but can't get the snow to budge. Feeling desperate to do anything to help, she thinks that maybe using a come-to-life spell would do the trick. Which is another interesting bit of magic. I have to wonder what other inanimate objects that would work on. The plow starts moving rather quickly, which causes Applejack to get suspicious, saying she's awful strong for such a little pony. Considering that both Twilight and Applejack look to be about the same size, I get the sense that there are more physical differences here than meets the eye. And it doesn't take long for Twilight's magic to take things too far and cause a bit of an avalanche. At this point, Twilight is feeling so down on herself that she has lost all hope. That is until Applejack and Fluttershy start arguing about when Rainbow's team should get the snow melted. It becomes apparent that the different tasks are falling behind schedule due to a lack of coordination between the teams. Everyone is talking about all the little mistakes that are holding things up, and we actually get our first reference to Ditsy-Do, though we aren't shown which pony that represents. Seeing that her true calling has arrived, Twilight gets to doing what she does best. We get a nice instrumental version of Winter Wrap-Up, as we see all the ponies becoming much more efficient in their tasks, and Twilight once again using a checklist to stay on top of everything. When it came to Rainbow and her team to clear away the clouds, I was a little impressed with how quickly they had pulled it off. There were maybe a couple dozen Pegasi here, and they created a whirlwind that cleared out the entire sky in a matter of seconds. It seemed much more powerful than, say, the tornado during Hurricane Fluttershy, which was created by more than 100 Pegasi. I do like the lesson presented here, about finding your hidden talents with patience and diligence. We also see Twilight learning more about becoming a leader, but once again not through seeking out the job. In fact, she started out just wanting to help in whatever way she could, and only decided to start organizing everyone when she realized just how much she was needed there. Yet another example of Twilight being the right kind of leader. So overall, I do believe that this is a fairly good episode, even if you take away the song. The music is certainly the most memorable part to this episode, but I would argue that it is still enjoyable even without it. What do you think? Was there anything about this episode that you hadn't noticed before? Do you think it still holds up even if you take out the song? I would like to hear your thoughts about Winter Wrap-Up and whether you still enjoy watching it. I am Dr. Wolf, and I look forward to hearing from you.